Town, Virginia, coming to you with another tutorial. It's the first week of June, so you know that means a new design template or a new sketch that we're going to be working on. So let's go ahead, switch my cameras, and get started. Let's see what this week's or this month's template is going to look like. So here we've got a pretty simple template. It's got a card base, 2 layers, a focal point, and a sentiment, and then some gems if you want to add them. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got our standard card base, and to that we're going to go ahead and add a piece of basic white to the inside. Now, all of the dimensions for all of these pieces are in my Crafty Clock Inspiration Vault, and you can sign up. It's $9 a month, and all of the inspiration sheets with all of the measurements are there. Measurements are both in imperial and in metric, and it's from the beginning of the year, so there's like over 20 documents in there right now. So then we're going to add to the front, we're going to add 2 pieces. I've got a piece of our basic white that I've embossed, so I'm going to add that with a little liquid glue. I like using a little liquid glue on the embossed pieces because when you emboss it, it kind of weakens the fibers of the paper, and sometimes like a tape runner will actually rip the embossed cardstock. So I like to use some liquid glue, plus it gives you a little bit of extra time to just sort of wiggle that piece into place. And let's go ahead and add a piece of our designer series paper. Again, I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue here. It's almost out. Got to replace it. And I'm going to make sure that I've got kind of a little bit in the corners, because you want those corners to stick down. Not too much, because you don't want it to come out the sides. And there's just the littlest, tiniest separations between the 2 pieces. They're not butting up right against one another. Now I have done, cut 2 ovals. These are retired, the oval die set, but I still have them because I love them and they're very useful. So I'm going to add a piece of our basic white to a die cut oval of the Hydrangea U. And you'll notice that the white one is scalloped, just to give it a little bit of an extra fancy look. Okay, now I'm not stamping on here because I'm going to actually add some die cut butterflies. So let's go ahead, let's add this. I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals. So you'll notice there's a score line in the middle of this. This was actually a spare piece that I had. It was cut from something else. And I'm like, well, you're not going to see that much of the score line. So I figured I would use it, right? Why waste it? Okay, and we could probably strategically place our sentiment and our butterflies to hide anything else. We're going to put that right there, sort of in the middle of the 2. Looks relatively straight. Let's go ahead and punch some butterflies from the All Aflutter stamp set. Love this stamp set. It's like one of my new favorites. And I'm using Secret C, because I have to admit, I'm really not a fan of the new Hybrid Black stamp set. You know that I will always tell you what's good and what's not, and I don't like the new Hybrid stamp set. So I've got 2 of our shimmer pens, our new In Color shimmer pens. I've got Barely Blush, and I've got Crisp Cantaloupe. And I'm going to gently brush this on my butterflies. Now, the reason I'm doing this before I die cut them is it's much easier to brush this on when they are attached to the paper, rather than trying to add this color when they have been die cut and they're much smaller. So that is why I am off the screen. So let me just make sure. So I'm just brushing it. If you need to add more color, just gently push this. This one I'm going to do in 2 colors. Let's do the Barely Blush on the bottom. Okay, and let's do the Crisp Cantaloupe on top. Okay, and there we go. I'm just adding a little color, not a lot. I want this to be a very soft little butterfly because the card is somewhat soft. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to squeeze and add a little bit more color to my brush tip. But have you played with the new shimmer brushes yet? I am in love with these. These are, I think, are one of the better new products that have come out. I love this. I love these shimmer pens. I have them in all the new in colors and I absolutely love them. Okay, that's just the softest of colors. Let's go ahead and punch these out and add them to our template. Now again, there you go. These are just, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment because I want to make sure that I do have room for my sentiment. And I'm going to stamp this in the secret C, simply because I forgot to grab my hydrangea hue ink pad. But that's okay. It'll work. We're just going to say fluttering by to say hi. All right, that was kind of a tight fit, but we made it work. So now I'm going to flag the ends. I want to make it like a little flag. I'm going to just kind of trim this off. And I'm going to cut a slit in the center. And then I'm going to cut from the outer edge on the diagonal up to that center slit. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there we have our little flagged banner. Now let's go ahead and just before we glue anything down, let's see where we want to place some of these. I wanted to place maybe that one there, this one here, and we'll add this one here. So that's what we're going to put on our focal piece. So let me get out my liquid glue again. And because I've popped up the oval, I am going to glue my butterflies flat. And then we can add some gems to add that little bit of sparkle. Now for this, because it's half on and half off, I'm going to put a dimensional on the flagged end. I grabbed 3 of them. I don't need 3 of them. I'm going to put a dimensional on the flagged end. I'm going to add a little liquid glue to the end that's going to sit on my oval. Okay, that will make this end equal the height of my oval. So when you have a piece that's going to hang off something that's been popped up, make sure that you add a dimensional to the other end so that it will stay and it will be the same height. Couldn't think of the word there. So that's pretty much our template. I have to go back and add some gems. I don't have anything handy right now. I should have gotten them out, but I didn't. So that is one variation. Here we've got another variation that I made this bottom piece a little bit smaller, only simply because I didn't have quite as much of this. So then I just made this piece bigger so you can adapt. So let's say you don't have enough, but you still want to use that designer series paper, just cut that smaller and cut the next one bigger. Again, I've used one of the shapes from the Sweet Words and Labels, and I've die cut and colored Pooh and Tigger. Added, again, this is from the die cut Sweet Words and Labels set. And it's pretty similar to our template. We've got our 2 layers, we've got our focal point, and then we've got our sentiment banner. Here's another one. Now this one I did emboss this part because I was using 2 designer series papers, so I embossed my focal point. Here I've embossed the top one. I've got the bottom one is just designer series paper. This was actually die cut right out of the Silly Old Bear DSP. There's that same label die cut again. Here's another one. This is using the Frames and Phrases die set, so you don't have to stick with the oval. You can make it another shape. And we've added a lot more butterflies here. And then lastly, we've had another one. Here's that gorgeous Scenic Coast designer series paper again. I've done a little blending with a blending brush to kind of make that look like a nighttime sky. And there we have our last one. So these are all variations on the same sort of sketch or design template. Think of this like a recipe, and you can add whatever you want. Let's say the recipe calls for bananas and you don't like bananas. You want to add cherries or pineapple or whatever. You can change it up. So just like this, you can change that focal point to be any shape you want. You can change the banner, the sentiment banner to be any shape you want. So that is the beauty of using a template, is that once you have the basic layout down, you can change it up to have it be whatever you need it to be based upon the supplies in your stash. That's it for me, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of the week and have a great weekend. Bye.